Imagine this, you're on a Tokyo subway right now, the woman next to you is attractive, you glance over, today you are safe, probably nobody's coming for you. But 15 years ago that glance could end your life. I mean that literally. In October 2009, a 25-year-old man named Shizuki Hanada accidentally bumped into a woman on a train. She immediately screamed chicken, basically accusing him of groping her. 2 men with her beat him on the spot. Hanada called the police afterward, but things only got worse. Police detained him for 5 hours based entirely on the woman's statement. Fingerprints, strip search, full body photos. No security footage check, no witness questioned. The fact that he was the one who got beaten, they didn't care. When they finally let him go, he walked straight to the nearest platform and jumped in front of a train. Not to be fair, passengers today are luckier than Hanada was. Japan still has a serious problem in public transit, but the spread of train cameras has probably saved innocent people too. In some Western countries, a man telling a female colleague she looks good is a power move. Male gaze, defining women through male aesthetics. In Japan, some activists take things further in the daily life. They are even saying certain things casually could become sexual harassment. And unlike Western online feminism, which often focuses on language, identity, and symbolic power, Japanese gender politics are more practical. Very material, very behavioral. Back during Japan's bubble economy, especially between 1986 and 1991, a famous dating standard appeared among women. 3 heights. High income, high education, high height. But honestly, that was not even the craziest part. At one point, some magazines openly joked that a woman should have 4 boyfriends. 1 to drive her around, 1 to pay for things, 1 to buy gifts, and 1 for emotional support. And unlike many Western feminist spaces today, early Japanese feminism was surprisingly strict about money. Going Dutch, that considered disrespectful to women. Men were expected to pay expensive restaurant, luxury gifts, and high-end treatment. Some even argued a private date should cost 50,000 yen, roughly $340 in today's money. You know, in previous videos I mentioned that Japanese women had tolerated the expectation of becoming a full-time housewife for almost an entire century. So once Japan's labor shortage exploded during the bubble economy, many women entered workforce aggressively, and a lot of radical demands emerged with it. Things like women should never work overtime, women should receive extra benefits on Valentine's Day and Christmas, and this is also where the subway story really begins. Any physical contact with a woman on a crowded train, for any reason, could potentially become a molestation accusation. Male bosses became terrified at private meetings with female employees. Even sending emails too often to a female subordinate could trigger workplace harassment accusation. Men started physically distancing themselves from women on trains, and Hanada wasn't even the first casualty. Back in 1991, a man in Osaka was accused of being a groper on the subway. The court eventually ruled him innocent. He still lost his job. His reputation collapsed and eventually had to leave his hometown entirely. Then Japan's bubble economy burst, and everything started changing. After the economic crash, Japan's feminist movement slowly divided into 2 camps. One side went back to legitimate issues, real workplace discrimination, real harassment. The other side went further. Every layoff, every pay cut, every structural failure, men's fault. Especially younger women who no longer wanted the same life their mothers had endured. Their answer was girls help girls. No marriage, no kids, no men. That's it. And this is where the subway story entered its 2nd chapter. Some opportunities started manufacturing false groping accusations, running the extortion before police arrived. Because at that time, women could accuse without evidence, while men had to prove innocence. And once accused, you're socially dead. This is also when women-only train coaches appeared, and at the same time men responded to, but interestingly not in the way you think. Instead of aggressive counter-movements, many Japanese men become omnivore men. No chasing women, no rejecting to women, no emotional responsibility to women. At work, avoid female co-workers. After work, disappear in your anime, games, and hobbies. Maybe you think it's not as loud as Western MGTOW, but from a pure strategic perspective, it works surprisingly well. After 2016, some women themselves started pushing back against radical feminism, arguing it had poisoned the public image of feminism entirely. Online gender hatred still existed, but offline, most ordinary people stopped caring that much. Men are adapted to email records, recorded meetings, never being alone together if avoidable. And the subway story entered the 3rd chapter. As more cameras appeared inside trains, false accusations became harder to pull off successfully. And after 2025, Japanese government introduces some measures against radical gender activism. The whole conflict gradually cooled down, not solved, just exhausted. Japan's cooled off, but one of its neighbors is just getting started. Opening up Red Note and you'll see things like, my husband used to give me 20,000 a month. Why did he stop after the divorce? I got pregnant by my male bestie. My husband won't accept it. Isn't he violating my reproductive rights? Oh, come on. If you zoom out globally, the contrast becomes even stranger. In parts of South Asia, many women are still fighting for basic legal rights. In parts of the Middle East, feminism exists online, but becomes much harder in real life because of religion and historical structure. In some African countries, there's barely even a gender war at all. People are too busy surviving. The really gender conflicts tend to happen in wealthy societies, especially during economic expansion, and which leads to a darker question. Why does the system tolerate men's movement and women's movements completely differently? Most people see gender wars and instantly pick a side, men or women, but almost nobody wants to say the uncomfortable part out loud. Ordinary people are pieces on a board. Japan's bubble economy needed labor, so the system let radical feminism demands run. But once birth rate collapsed and marriage numbers fell below 500,000 in 2023, the priorities changed. Suddenly the society started talking about family again. Because now the system faces a different crisis. No workers, no taxpayers, no future soldiers. And the media behaves similarly. During economic growth, women become a massive consumption engine. Cosmetics, fashion, dating markets, weddings, and childcare industries. So media promotes female independence and romantic consumerism aggressively. But once economic decline hits and purchasing power weakens, that energy disappears almost overnight. And here's another structural difference people rarely notice. Women organize easily than men. They can often unite through a single identity label, but men usually require multiple layers of shared interest. Class, military identity, region, industry, taxes, and profession. But even that only scratches the surface. Because if we go one layer deeper into territory most people avoid talking about, organized male solidarity has historically always threatened the systems. Trade unions and worker organizations, these groups extract enormous concessions from states and corporations. The 8-hour workday, minimum age, labor protections, and the system's attitude towards these groups has always been conditional. Useful during war, dangerous during peace. Worker solidarity has been suppressed for over a century in many countries, and modern movements like MRA or MGTOW, they're not treated as extreme only because of gender positions. The deeper issue is their core position. No marriage, no lifelong labor, no military participation. These ideas directly challenge how the states and corporations manage labor populations. Historically, systems prefer men as vertical obedient soldiers and productors, not horizontal united groups. East or west, doesn't matter. And once you realize that, another pattern appears. A person spending all day hating the opposite sex never asks why their own life are such a mess. And you know the final irony? Radical feminism and manosphere culture actually feed each other. Without radical feminist rhetoric, manosphere movements lose their emotional fuel. Without manosphere movements, radical feminism loses the urgency. Narrative of men as threatening the women. Both need the other to exist. Both need continuous conflict to raise money, hold attention, keep their communities from falling apart, and the media profits from all of it. Frankly speaking, it's not some secret conspiracy where a few people sit in a dark room planning society. It's just the systems protecting themselves. But they are four winners in this game. Radical feminism, the manosphere, media, and advertisers. Everybody gains something from the permanent outrage, except ordinary people. We think we are players, actually we're raw material. Alright, that's it for today. If you also like digging into the root, hit follow, we'll dig deeper next time.